Hello, and welcome
Hello.
to this wonderful poetry session being done for Brown Critique. I am Rekha Sethi, and I have with me Sukrita Paul Kumar, but lovingly we call her Sukrita. That's her pen name for writing poetry. Sukrita wears many hats. She's an academic, writer, critic, has been a teacher, but foremost, she is a painter and a poet. She has published many collections of her poetry, Without Margins, Oscillations, Dreamcatcher, Untitled, and her latest collection is Country Drive, and another one, Moments of Being, in which she shares her poetry with painter Subhash Malik. So the poetry and the paintings come together. She is also recipient of many fellowships, and she has been a fellow at IIAS Shimla and also an honorary fellow at uh, Iowa, the writing program at Iowa, USA. And she's a recipient of Indo-Canadian Shastri Fellowship, uh, amongst others. So I share a very special bond with Sukrita. We have worked together. I have translated some of her poetry, and I have read her on many, many things, not just her poetry, but she has been uh, writing on partition. So I have read all through that and have known the multifaceted personality that she has as an academic critic, and of course, the sensitivity with which she writes and paints. So, welcome, Sukrita, to this program. And
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rekha. I think Rekha Sethi and I are basically co-travelers, and I feel very fortunate that we are in each other's company often in the context of doing books, in the context of having dialogues through the translation process in a way, because Rekha is probably the first one who did, first one in the sense of full length volume which she did, in the context of translation. She translated a whole volume of my poetry, and it got published as Samay Ki Kasak. And it was much acclaimed, and a lot of people. And personally, I felt that the dialogue that we had through that particular process of translation, by leaving each other alone, and yet the dialogue happened. And I think that is the kind of translation that I always respect, where the autonomy of the translator is maintained and the translator is not all the time anxious as to what would the original poet say, because ultimately the translator is herself becoming a poet or wearing the hat of a poet to be able to make poetry stand on its own. Rekha's speciality has been women's writings. She has done several books, and particularly the last two that she did in Hindi. They are much acclaimed, and people are looking forward to all the time either discussing that material that she has. And very rarely do you have a very clear feminist approach which she has applied. And at the same time, it's not a screechy, screamy kind of feminism that she talks about, but she theoretically examines Hindi poets. I don't know the number. It's probably nearly 6 to 10 in number.
Seven.
Yeah.
Let us go to your poetry.
Yeah, but I can go on like that. That's true. But this is of a dialogue. Even today's program is a kind of a dialogue that we want to maintain. So I think I would start by, is that all right if I start reading my poems first? And I think I will like to read the poems which actually were published in my last volume, which I did with Yasmin Ladha, my friend poet, this was a very unique experiment that we did, but we will talk about that at some other point. But there are 3 poems of mine which I will read from this collection, which is called Country Drive, after which, of course, Rekha will go over to the translation section of our conversation. So I would like to read first and foremost a poem which actually is emphasizing on my journey in a way in life itself, and I see a lot of poetry of mine which also has come with that kind of curiosity, I would say, of what next, or how is this moment, and there's a tremendous amount of curiosity, but I reflect on that curiosity rather than go into a description of what I see or what I do. So this is a poem which I call Draupadi on a Hunt. I am on the lookout. Is this where I might find what I'm looking for? Yes, this way, not that way. Draupadi stomped out of Mahabharat, became a squirrel, and climbed up the tree as did Manto Stoba Tek Singh. Look down. Is this Hindustan or Pakistan? Barbed wire between the two lovers, real as their love. On all fours do I crawl, holding on to the earth's call, not to fly, nor abandon them, not to forget the one and only, nor the rest of them, rumbling and whispering, with all the tales and myths gurgling in the earth's belly. I am on the lookout. So after this, I think logically we need to go to, again, this is particularly a woman-centric poem, which I call Women on a Motorbike. Sisters and daughters, even mothers, are hurled into daily abuses and jokes, trapped in muscular gaze, frozen as soft targets in epics, dolls in cinema, excuses for duels, kept in bolts in the royal cellars of history. While Sita greets Savitri, singing songs of captivity, shedding tears of loss and regret, the two women on the motorbike, Laldet and Akka Mahadevi, whiz past through centuries, multiplying in numbers, as also in Shakti, each one searching her own path, her own tune. I guess all of us are trying to do that, find the right tune, and never can be captured very easily. Just get glimpses of that.
But this is such a nice journey. Laldet, Akka Mahadevi traveling together and their Shakti being passed on to centuries later women like us who feel much empowered by their presence.
Absolutely. And in fact, the next poem that I want to read has also got to do with this phenomenon of how a poet's consciousness registers. I won't just call it in a flippant way an influence. It's not just an influence, but all these different feminine or feminist or womanly women, in one sense, and I would think of them as androgynous actually, how they get into your subconscious. And so whether in these poems, I'm talking about the 2 poems that I read. One is Draupadi and the other one is Laldet and, Akka Mahadevi. But in my consciousness, there is one great feminist, the original of the origins, as I might always say, of the theoretician, who is Simone de Beauvoir. And I have written a series of poems. I will just read one poem, which is Arrival at Paris. To me, Paris is Simone de Beauvoir. And I journeyed to Paris when I landed there in the airport, and that's when this poem happened. And I call it Arrival at Paris. And I'll just read through it. Many came, knocked at the door, and went away. But my friend Simone de Beauvoir, you didn't. You haven't left. The second sex, mandarins, and all, pulling at the delicate membranes of my brain, unknotting ritual from emotion on the crossroads of all paths of my loves and my hates, you entered the doors and windows of my inner scape, my guiding star, my lighthouse, my friend, you are my enemy. Let's face it, my arch enemy, flinging me far out into the sea amidst sharks and whales. You led me to rivers of fire, Ismat, Eniapa, Sylvia Plath, Lalbade, Maya Angelou too. All meant my meditations for the birth of a ball of light and flames, my icon of worship, the Greek androgyny swinging hand in hand with Ardhanarishwar. Landing on this land, Paris, I see it all. The ashes of lava over Simone's territory disperse the fireballs of light darting between the east and the west, beyond gender, beyond the male, and beyond the female. So this is how I landed at Paris.
Yeah, this was very, very, I should say, this is very close to my heart as well, because the friend, the guiding light, the lighthouse, but how difficult the woman's journey becomes once she knows where she
Yes,
belongs.
exactly. So it's a very difficult part of the journey, which one undertakes very willingly, though.
Yeah.
Very willingly. So the last one that I want to read from this particular collection, Country Drive, is a poem that I'm personally very fond of, and so I cannot resist reading it. It's called At Wagah. At Wagah, I love you the most. The border, marked by the spectacle of stomping army boots, shining medals, beating their chests into the rising and setting sun. The day becoming night and the night day when the guards on both sides change, bang, bang. I love you the most at Wagah. When the guns are raised to salute separation, division, and rupture, when the neighbor dies and wears the shroud, becomes enemy all at once. My friend, you go away, only as a bird does, flying in the free skies, when lines of hatred rise against prayer flags. Wagah happens. And I love you the most because you are on the other side of the border. That's the irony. That's the irony. Yeah. So, this is, well, just a glimpse into the kind of poetry that happened to me when I did this volume with Yasmin Nada. And of course, there are different journeys that I've had. And maybe now we should go over to the real journey that we did, or I did with my family when we traveled from Africa to India. And somehow, glimpses of that travel that I did on sea keeps coming back to me. And this is one such poem that I wrote, which I think first let's read the translations. Rekha.
Actually, this is very striking that you have had many translators, and the translators who have been poets themselves, or the people who have reached out to you. Like, it's really amazing that Gulzar Saab translated an entire collection of your poems. Then you did a collaborative thing with Hindi poet Savita Singh by the title Rowing Together. So this, I would like to read this particular poem by Gulzar Saab in Hindustani, and then by Savita Singh in Hindi. And probably then we can come to you to know what the original was like.
Because these two themselves could be the originals. Yeah.
So Gulzar Sahab has translated this. It has two titles: Voyaging at 10 and The Blue Death. Actually, I'm very anxious in reading this because Gulzar Saab's voice is ringing in my ears, and how he would read it, I cannot match that at all, but I'll try to.
You read it in your own voice, my dear.
बेकरां नीले समंदर कनपटी से सफेदे सब फिर से बेकरां नीले समंदर कनपटी से सफेद होते आसमां के दरमियां मैं खड़ी थी एक नुक्ते की तरह बेपनाह इस कायनात में कोहनियां टेके मैं रेलिंग पर खड़ी थी सेलिंग मुंबासा से बॉम्बे की तरफ एक तूफान सेलिंग मुंबासा से बॉम्बे की तरफ एक तूफान एक झुंड शार्कस का या लस विल्स का फील हो जाए तो इंजर आमरा का या ये रेलिंग ही चटक जाए अगर एक आबी कब्र बस कुछ तो हो कुछ भी सही कोई मामूली या कोई गैर मामूली सा कुछ तैर भी सकती नहीं मैं और साहिल वो नजर आता ही नहीं और साहिल वो नजर आता नहीं। ये तर्जुमा था गुलजार साहब ने जो आपकी कविता का किया। इसी कविता का एक अनुवाद जो सविता सिंह ने किया, वॉयजिंग एट 10 वर्ष में यात्रा। गहरे नीले समुद्र के विस्मयकारी विस्तार और भूरे आसमान के बीच मैं खड़ी थी। ईश्वर की सृष्टि में एक कण डेक की रेलिंग पर झुकी हुई जो मुंबासा से बंबई के लिए खुली थी। एक यात्रा जिसका आरंभ और अंत तो था मगर कोई मध्य नहीं। एक तूफान, शार्क और वेल मछलियों का एक झुंड, आमरा की इंजन का फेल होना या सिर्फ रेलिंग का टूटना, नीली मृत्यु, कुछ भी मामूली सा कुछ या फिर एक गंभीर चूक। मैं तैर नहीं सकती और किनारे कहीं दिखते नहीं। मैं तैर नहीं सकती और किनारे कहीं दिखते नहीं। मेरा भी मन हो रहा है कि मैं भी अपनी आवाज इसमें मिलाऊं और खुद अनुवाद करूं। अभी बहुत अच्छा हो अगर आप ये कविता मूल में पढ़ें ताकि हम देखें कि कितना कितना करीब और कितना कितना।
और देखिए हर लैंग्वेज का देयर इज ऑब्वियसली अ काइंड ऑफ अ कल्चर दैट अ लैंग्वेज कैरीज विद इन इटसेल्फ. So Gulzar's poem carries the weight of Urdu culture, literary culture. Yes. And Savita's is obviously Hindi culture, you know. So even if they are very close to each other, there is obviously a very great difference. You can make out. The voices are very different. And Rekha, probably your stream would be Hindustani, I think. And you will probably go midstream somewhere. So it's interesting to see how the same poem can acquire so many different avatars and meanings as well. Meanings begin to change. So let me read the original, which I called so-called original because I think even the others are original, personally. Voyaging at 10. Between awesome expanses of deep blue oceans and the graying sky, I stood, a speck in God's creation, leaning on the rails of the deck, sailing from Mombasa to Bombay. A journey with a beginning and an end and no middle. A storm, a swarm of sharks, or whales, failure of the engines of Amra, the ship, or a mere giving way of the railing, blue death, anything, a trivial something, or a grave lapse. I cannot swim. The shores are not in sight.
Actually, whenever I personally translate, the poet's voice rings into my ears. So I kind of follow, or particularly once I have known you. So whenever I read your poetry, I know where your pauses will be, where your silences will be, your words would be. So then I become a fellow traveler, because once it is like getting under the skin of the poet and then recreating the originals. So I
Yes,
think
Rekha.
we also read some of our translations that we did together.
Yeah.
We lovingly call this kind of reading as Jugal Bandi often.
Yeah, yeah. And also it becomes a kind of a guftagoo in some ways, because it's one is in response to the other
Yeah,
and has its difference. And for instance, even in these translations, I am not sure in either of these translations, but that particular feeling that I have myself experienced, which is, that of a little girl of 10 years who is traveling in the ship and is on the sea for about 8 days without any shore in sight. And it is that kind of fear of the whales and the sharks on the one hand, and on the other there is this possibility of just something going wrong with the ship. And what happens then? A kind of a scare and insecurity. And yet there is this joy of travel, and there is a very beautiful ambiguity. And basically, it is that experience that I keep trying to capture again and again. And this is not the only poem that I have written on this, because those journeys mattered to me a great deal, the experiential part of it. As a small child who is at sea, literally at sea, you know. So I don't know if in the translation it's for the reader or the listener to make out, but personally, I hang on to that point. So I think now we can move on to Rekha, your translations. And
yeah. Actually, today let's read some other translations. We have often read together the collection Untitled and the Hindi collection from the Untitled Samay Ki Kasak. But today we will read some poems from the Dreamcatcher.
yes.
So you
So
want
which one would you like to read first? Is it
let's read one very small poem if we can. It's titled Heights.
okay? All right. Yes.
So you read
Yeah.
first, I read first.
No, you read first.
So, ऊंचाइयां, ऊंची सातवीं मंजिल बुद्ध की कथा कहती है. ऊंची सातवीं मंजिल बुद्ध की कथा कहती है. कामना और पीड़ा से परे बहुत ऊपर एक दिन जन्म लिया मैंने. एक दिन मृत्यु को वरूंगा मैं.
Heights. The seventh floor tells Buddha's tale. Above desire, above suffering. One day I was born, one day I shall die.
I really love this interplay of attachment and detachment in your poetry. You have written many such poems which are very, very philosophical, and the relationship that you share with nature, particularly, that comes out in the poems very well.
So interestingly, Rekha, this poem came out, this poemlet, small poem. So this came out when I was in Hong Kong, and the heights that I'm talking about are the heights of the buildings all around. And suddenly it evokes that whole idea, okay, of the seventh floor And then it takes you beyond that, right? Yeah. So literally, it's a very stark, if I can sort of just make a critical comment, it is a very stark matter of fact statement of a philosophic perception, you know. Just very few words, but just it goes staccato.
Yeah.
It's not emotional, it's not emotional, but just pure reflection in one sense. I'm glad you chose this because I quite like this for myself. Right.
Now you please read New Life. It's about the tsunami and the.
Yeah. So this is actually part of the series that I did, series of poems, in a way to relieve myself of the kind of pain that I was going through by reading about in the newspapers, reading about every day a new experience of how tsunami basically affected a whole lot of people, various kinds of people when it happened. So this is the one of the poems is in fact a little longer than the others, but short enough. So I call it I call it New Life. 9 months gone, she went into the trance of labor on the banks in Port Blair. Waves of razor pains rose from the center, tearing the earth apart, sucking in frolicking humanity. With the first cry of the baby, they named her Tsunami.
9 महीने बीत जाने पर वह प्रसव वेदना से मूर्छित पोर्ट ब्लेयर के समुद्री किनारे पर बीचों बीच उठती तीखे दर्द की लहरें, धरती दरकाती, उल्लसित सोखती जाती मानवता। बच्चे की पहली रुलाई पर उन्होंने उसे नाम दिया सुनामी।
हम आजकल भी तो we are going through a kind of a tsunami, you know. So it's very appropriate to be thinking of this because I think this, when you feel that the world is coming to an end. And it's also ironically tied up with the idea of a new baby getting born, you know. And you might even call that baby corona or pandemic, so whatever, like tsunami. Because the idea of something new happening is happening along with the idea of somebody dying, and not, it's almost all of humanity going into the waters and dying. So this simultaneity of death and birthing is what comes out of, I think, this particular thing. I'm sorry, I'm a teacher, I get into this, but it just occurs to me that it resonates so much with what we are going through today in the context of the pandemic. So while there is at one point, we get into the mode of, collapsing into darkness and death and all of that. And on the other hand, where you and I are sitting and doing poetry,
Yes. Actually, you have written a series of poems on Corona and the dialogues with Ganga.
Yeah.
We should move to that, but before that, can we read one very small?
Yes, please go ahead.
Meaning. I'll read it in Hindi first then.
Yes, please.
अर्थ, कुछ नहीं के बीच से ही कुछ निकल सकता है, कुछ नहीं के बीच से ही कुछ निकल सकता है, जैसे सूखी खाली स्लेट पर बुलबुला फट जाने से उभर आती है पूरी सी गोल आर्द्रता।
वेल ट्रांसलेटेड। इनफैक्ट मुझे लगता है कि उसी को हम ओरिजिनल मान लें। तो
क्या फिर अब गंगा पर जो आपकी कविताएं हैं उन पर चले हम? समय शायद हो चुका है, लेकिन
अच्छा,
करने से पहले
छोटा सा 2-3 करते हैं। हाँ, 2-3 I think I would like to, Ganga Dialogues, of course, they started earlier than the pandemics. And then when we moved into the pandemics, my dialogue with Ganga also took a different shape. But I'm not going to read that part of the Ganga dialogues. I will read the earlier part, which I was doing actually, writing when I was experiencing Ganga physically, when I was at the shores of Ganga. So it kind of got me to be in a very reflective, philosophic kind of meandering into poetry. And so that's the part that I will read. Maybe 2 or 3. How much time do we have? Maybe about 2, 3 of them. So I start with a little one. My soul lies deep in your waters, O Ganga. My body must dive into the river from Himalayan heights to embrace her. Silver ripples on your surface, O Ganga, rise from the soft tips of your fingers, playing on taut strings of the sitar, rolling under your waters, over rocks, over pebbles. Gushing waters singing seductively to the naked winter trees, also to the fully clad in evergreen foliage. O Ganga, you move on in time, in space, in rhythm, in style, forever arriving in the arms of the ocean. Stillness of trees becomes more still with your gasping waves, O Ganga, running in exasperation to reach the destination again and yet again, till the end of the world. You keep flowing. That's it. I think if it's time, we can probably stop here.
I think we have almost completed our time, or maybe a little more than that. But I think we will end with a small poem only. But before that, let's thank Gayatri Majumdar for giving us this opportunity to read these poems here and talk about these poems.
Thank you, the Brown Critique, and thank you, Gayatri, for creating this platform for us. I think as usual, and as it always happens, this dialogue with Rekha has been very satisfying. And we've gone into translations, but we've also stayed with the idea of poetry throughout, whether through translation or through the original English. And I think these are rivers of different languages coming together. And that is the beauty of the activity of bridging cultures through translation. Thank you for affording this opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Well, hello there. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching this video on our Brown Critique channel. We'd really appreciate and really love it if you watched all our other videos and liked them. Make sure to subscribe to the channel as well. Stay well, take care of yourself, and until the next time, bye for now.